come up with her ukulele.
Ukulele, you know.
Yes. Hey, that does work.
That's
Ukulele,
Udelle.
Udelle.
She's amazing.
I like that. Even without the matching green lipstick, it's still a nice visual. And you're not showing your bicep today either. You're just not giving us any of the teasers. From...
I'll look chest best if you want me to.
All right, so please. Yay.
All right, so this one, I'll just preface it. I don't like prefacing my stuff, but I gotta give Thom, the world poet slash spirit, Thom, the amazing poet, credit where credit is due. Thom told me, where was I? I was at Kick Butt Coffee about a month ago, and he said, there's going to be a poetry contest in Waco, WordFest, submit your poetry, and so I just wanted to submit something that I had already written, and it turned out that none of my poems really fit the criterion for length. They were a little too long. My poems tend to be about a couple pages long, so I wrote something shorter, and this is what it came out. It's called Inspiration Precipitation, and here it is. So I'm going to recite the poem, and then I'm going to play the piece that goes along with it. It's a work in progress. I want to incorporate them together, but today I'm going to separate them. So here it is. Inspiration, precipitation. Llueve de inspiración. Escuchando a la música de silencio. Ukulele en mí, Queenie y yo. Esperando y caminando al momentito cuando mi propia canción llueve de los nubes oscuros. Listening to the music of silence. Ukulele and me, Queenie and I. Waiting and walking toward the moment when my own song rains from the heavy clouds. Frets pressed in the melancholy tune. The notes vibrato chimed harmoniously with my poetry, my tune. I am where I need to be to sing.
Coming up next, Tony Burnett. I almost said Tony Bennett.
That's all right.
Okay, wait a minute.
If I was him, I'd be lounging in my pool somewhere in Las Vegas instead of here tonight, but I'd rather be here, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
So, anyway, just before I read this, I just want to remind everybody that where our economy is set up right now, if you're young and you don't have the money or the credit to go to college, you have two choices, prison or the Army, pretty much. If you choose the Army, you got a 1 in 25 chance to come back permanently damaged, physically or mentally. But that's not what the story's about. It's called boot camp. The blast from the electric air horn vibrates so violently that the molecules of the adjacent concrete are affected by the sound. The surface of the water in the rectangular pool boils as 25 pubescent seals first onto the aggregate platform surrounding the artificial pond. I know there are 25 seals. I count them every day. I feed them every day, twice. The air is rancid with the scent of decaying marine life and petroleum refineries. Anita steps through the aluminum door. The hydraulic closing mechanism hisses. Anita is dressed in an athletically inspired two-piece bathing suit that was originally black. It has faded to a dusty charcoal. She wears a black visor and dark wraparound sunglasses. You cannot see her eyes. Though she normally wears rubber-soled sneakers, today she is wearing unusual footwear. The black leather boots have chunky 3-inch heels. The sleek leather straps are laced snugly to the knee with thin nylon cord. Near the top of the calf, protruding through a sterling silver disc, are long leather tassels with 2 turquoise beads braided into each one. Stepping into the sun, she glistens from the sunscreen, though the skin underneath is brown and taut with a visible lack of elasticity. She walks with a military posture toward the line of seals. The seals are young, probably half their adult size. They range in color from a pale gray through a brown to a midnight black, but are otherwise virtually identical. Each seal is posed identically with his eyes staring at the sky directly above. Each seal holds an identical plastic flower in his mouth. Flowers are not the kind you would find in a craft store. They are giant cartoon flowers made from brightly colored polystyrene discs. The plastic shaft, the diameter of a pencil, serves as a stem. Beginning at one end of the line, Anita walks slowly, stopping in front of each seal and observing it for a moment. The seals remain motionless, except for one. About a third of the way down the line, one of the seals is distracted by the dancing braids on Anita's boots. It lowers its head, enchanted by the motion of the dangling beads. Anita stops, turns toward the seal. Before it can regain its focus and make eye contact, Anita's hand darts snake-like as she slaps the seal viciously, causing the flower to bounce off the back of the next seal and plunge into the pool, sinking toward the drain cover. The seal puts its head down between its flippers and closes its eyes. Anita continues her inspection. Anita turns when she reaches the end of the line. With the sun at her back, she removes her sunglasses and slips them on above her visor. The irises of her eyes are so dark that her pupils appear enlarged. She begins to walk back along the line of seals. When she reaches the seal with the missing flower, it's staring directly overhead, poised to match the other seals, but flowerless. Anita stops in front of the flower seal, bends at the waist until she's almost touching noses with the seal. "Where is your fucking flower, you useless piece of shit?" she screams. The seal points its swelling nose toward the deep end of the pool. Before it can turn back to face Anita, she takes a step back in order to put more force into the kick. It's a classic punt. It catches the seal directly between the flippers, causing the seal to fly backward in a somersault arc. When it hits the water, it swims toward the deep end. A thread of red blood follows the animal toward the drain cover. Anita reaches the end of the line, turns back towards the seal. She studies them with her feet slightly apart and her hands on her hips. The boots make her almost look Amazonian against the backdrop of small seals. The damaged seal crawls back out of the pool and takes its former position. The flower in its mouth, it stares at the sky. Anita observes the seal as a small pool of blood forms from the drips falling out of his mouth. Her hands fall from her hips. She sprints toward the seal. With her final step, she leaps into the air, uses her height, weight, and momentum to slam her right foot down on the plastic flower, driving the plastic stem down the seal's throat. The seal struggles to remain on the platform, its flippers flipping wildly, but Anita continues to force the seal from the platform with her foot. The seal slips into the water. Tomorrow morning after I check in, I will fill the two galvanized pails with dead mullet and codfish. I will count 24 seals. I know. I count them every day. I feed them every day. I'm the one that scoops some bodies up.
Deputy Johnson.
Five minutes.
Okay.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
You're wasting time.
I have nothing prepared. But I've been told I only have 5 minutes. 5 minutes for me sometimes is not enough. She was correct. Sometimes I enjoy talking. Almost as much as I enjoy writing. I just recently finished one of my longest writings yet, 163 pages.
Wow.
I love to write. Sometimes I love to talk as well. And I actually was thinking about not coming here today, but I thought, no, that wouldn't be right, because this is something that I have started, something that I enjoy doing. Then as I thought, well, maybe I could talk about being transgender. Sure enough, Teresa kind of gave me the thought about it. Each day as I'm out, I'm stepping outside the box. I'm not following the norm. I'm different. There is someone that I somewhat have taken their statement, and I look at it and I think about it every day. Her name is Myra Keesley. She's a trans woman. She's in Washington, D.C. She's the executive director of the National Transgender Group. Her statement is, the more that a transgender individual comes out, the more the barriers are broken down. I came out a year ago at the VA. One of the first things that I was asked is, when are you going to start wearing slacks again? That to me was kind of pushing it back. I'm living outside the box because I feel like the best way for me to be is to continue to be myself, continue to wear dresses. What better way of getting the message across? Hey, I'm a trans female. When you think about trans, think about transatlantic. Trans meaning across. So I am trans woman. I'm going across the gender. There's a lot of negativism in today's world. Bathroom bills. Everyone's heard about the bathroom bill in North Carolina. I keep up with all of this because it's important to me. You've also heard about the shootings in Florida. It's very tragic. Austin has a very not so well or good distinction, as Austin has the first murder of a transgender person for 2016. In November, there will be a National Transgender Day of Remembrance. It will be sometime about the middle of the month, so there'll be more information coming. In the event that you may not know some other information about being a transgender individual, thought I would share these few points with you. A transgender individual is 41% more likely to commit suicide. This is the highest of any grouping across anything. They will face employment discrimination, housing discrimination, and discrimination of other types as well. They did jot down a few things I wanted to kind of get across. One thing that I have learned is that there is no right or wrong way. I'm not alone. One thing that has interested me is that no one really knows exactly what the number is. They tried a year ago in a census to try and capture this. They still haven't captured it. But it is thought that being a transgender individual is 3% of the population. Again, I enjoy writing. I've been writing about my experiences for about 4 years now. I have a nice little notebook about this much. and I am really trying to, yes, put a book together. A transgender individual tries to, there's a set of standards for a transgender individual. It's called the WPATH. It's World Professional Medical, it's a standard, okay? And part of those standards is in order for a person to get hormones or to have surgeries, they have to present themselves at least a year or more in the other gender. But again, there's no right or wrong way. There's nothing that I have found that tells me exactly how to go about this. I am seeing a counselor, and the counselors I've seen have told me you're going about this the right way. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Then I also want to say, also at work, I'm the first transgender woman who's come out at the VA. I'm setting a standard, you might say. I'm trying to step out there. I'm going against the grain. So that's what I.
Hope, Ruiz.
Was that 5 minutes?
I wasn't timing it, but it felt. It didn't feel like it was too much longer than 5.
So I kind of alluded to this in my writing. I thought this might kind of go well with what I was talking about today, where I got inspired from my tattoo.
Wait, I didn't see your tattoo. Okay.
Mesa Verde, Colorado, 1998. Fire-scorched, black ashes and drooping trees feel like fresh wounds as I enter the park. Skeletons of the earth are laid bare like fallen giants, the forest bones exposed. I'm traveling alone, having conquered yet another battle with my lungs. I'm celebrating my freedom from hospital beds, high doses of prednisone, and nebulizers. I set up a tent in time to head out and explore before dark. Driving down winding roads to the ancient cliff dwellings, a splash of color catches my eye. I pull over to take in a stunning patch of wildflowers, beauty and resilience. Life returning, a reminder of the endless cycle of rebirth, time spiraling forever on. With my camera hanging around my neck, I crouch low to the earth to take aim. Try to capture the small miracle on film. But a movement distracts my trance. A presence hovers above me. I slowly lift my gaze.
My friend played a murderer, and he and I both have this same timbre in our voices. And when he and I sit around and get drunk, it sounds like the Budweiser frogs are reciting Shakespeare. So anyway, this little story is called IIWT. Doc, what are we doing for International Irish Whiskey Time? He asked the other day. Drinking? I replied. Now the irony is that Dave and I both gave up Irish whiskey a long time ago, but it's how we refer to the amateur day that is supposedly the celebration of St. Patrick's death. But we've been using this term for 14 years, and old habits die hard. Year 2000. Location, Greenwich Village, Nolita, New York. Time, 11 a.m. Now, Dave had gotten up to have a piss and left me at the bar with my glass of Jameson and a pint of Guinness. And there had been a guy in a leather jacket hovering behind me with a haircut that was only popular in 1989.
You prefer the Britishism. And she came over here, her parents got divorced, and she set up a website for her mom on a website called shoddy.com, which is kind of like the Indian version of Match.com. And in her words, put up a 10-year-old profile picture for her mom. And her mom remarried now to a guy who lives in the US, but is originally from India as well. And they've been together now for years, and she moved over with her mom when she was 17. So she's been here about 8 years. But her biological dad still lives in India. And we've been going out, as I said, for a while. And finally, last October, we did go back to India. We flew there. It was a really long flight. I do not recommend it. But India is lovely. We met her family in Chennai, her dad's family, which is a very interesting experience. I am, from a clan of dwindling patrician East Coast Jews. I have 2 cousins, and that's it. That's my entire family. Her dad is the youngest of 10 children. So between them, they have basically a small city of people, which is remarkable. And they were so great to me. Everybody was super nice. We stayed with one of her aunts, who fed me delicious South Indian food until I basically had to beg them to stop. And it was a good experience. And then after that we went up to North India, to Rajasthan, which is sort of a desert area. There's a lot of really beautiful palaces there. I recommend it highly if you're ever going to be in India. And one thing I noticed is that going into all these beautiful palaces that have been preserved and that are national monuments, if you're an Indian citizen, you pay a different price than if you're a foreigner. But every time we went there, the guys who were manning the booths, some of whom have truly fantastic mustaches, every time they would say, "Where's your passport? Are you an Indian?" And she would give it to them, but afterwards she was so angry. She said, "Where's your fucking passport? Why don't I go back? I should go back there and just yell at him." And, but I totally understood why they didn't see her as Indian, right? She wasn't dressed in any kind of traditional clothing. She's being followed around by an awkward white man who doesn't speak the language. It made perfect sense to me. And she was telling me that she doesn't really feel like she's from anywhere because she relocated to this country when she was pretty young, and I guess she doesn't have that set of rules for who she is. And as I said, she's been here since high school. She went to college here. In a lot of ways, she's very Americanized, if that's a word. She watches American TV, and we were watching the Olympics recently, and she's like, "Yeah, America," when we won all those medals. I was like, "Okay, take it easy." But at the same time, like, she still watches like ridiculous Bollywood songs and has all these other attachments to parts of her culture. And her name is Bhargavi, by the way. She explains this to people. She's like, a bar where you go to drink, ga like gum, but without the M, and then V. So pretty simple, but people always get it wrong. So when she goes to Starbucks or something, she'll just be like, "It's for BB." And they still get it wrong. So she was thinking about changing her name when she becomes a citizen, because they let you do it for free and it's part of the process. And but I told her, I don't think you should. I think, fuck that. If people can't say your name, you make them say it. And the truth is that you're always going to be from multiple places, and that's okay. Your home, ultimately, where you're from it's wherever you feel like you're from, and no one can tell you otherwise. So that's what I wanted to say.
Wonderful.
And it's Thom, the world poet, in the third hat.
It's not the hat,
Outfits.
it's what's underneath it.
Okay.
The unwritten rule is that, quoting Jefferson Airplane, we are volunteers of America, okay? So every person here is a volunteer today, and I think that is the only way we're going to survive the future. I do poetry at the Festival Beach Community Gardens, and they welcome poetry there, which makes me very happy. But these are 2 I couldn't read last night. Nobody ever took my hand and introduced me to these plants medicinal, nor shared for me the shape of clouds, nor any tree that poisoned or healed. Homeopathy, pharmacopoeia was just Greek to me. Cure next to barb, thorn and balm. Contradictory deserts, where the once rainforest, their biology and pathology is Amazonian, such strength. to live amongst the dust and dirt, then rain, frogs. To set free both rock and fire, then to burn so fiercely we had to ascribe ancient gods to explain. Oh Pele, oh Vulcan. Deserts do not own you, pre-human, pre-dinosaur, pre-cave and fire, stick and stone. You can exist without us. We cannot stop to love you as you need. Every cathedral is a garden in stone. Every garden is a cathedral, where weeds and wheels shoot long and lovely and lush. Thank you, Gerald Manley Hopkins. And whole tribes of emergent greens become multitudes, congregations of colours, grades of goodness, saints of sweet grass. Even those cacti bloom for midnight moons. Even the rocks weep with blood. To grow with your garden into martyrdom of savage seasons, when all that is young is sacrificed in ice and fire. Have you not watched over and nurtured the delicate young, only to see the roaming deer exact their tithes? Brief butterfly spirits visit, bees pollinate, birds nest and rest, yet every sanctuary is temporary. Pilgrims root and roost en route to miracles. Seeds feed bees when planted in hope and earth trust. Scorched Texas summer dust, until clouds of hope burst raindrops. Slack thirsts allow growth. Cycles and seasons are gardens too. Your garden is you.
All right, thank you everybody for coming out. We shall reconvene here, actually on 9/11. And the theme, purposely, is cultural mosaic, if I can say the word, mosaic, cultural mosaic. I thought that would be a great way to observe that occasion. I hate calling negative things an anniversary.
Yeah.
I just like calling it an observation. And my observation is it's much harder to kill people when you see them as human. So I purposely chose the theme cultural mosaic because I want to challenge everybody to either write about the time that you were an outsider or you welcomed an outsider or you learned something that you had no idea about because you didn't grow up with it. So it doesn't have to be cultural mosaic in the terms of highfalutin literature, but just an awareness of the other and you didn't fear it, you know, or you overcame it. I think that's the solution. All right, I'll stop preaching. So thank you everyone. Have a safe drive back.
If anybody wants to buy a book, just go out to my Jeep.